Yes, Lord.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes,
I come truly thankful for everyone coming. I first give honor to God, who's the head of my life.
Yes.
I give honor to my pastor, to my first lady, all the clergymen who came out today, all the missionaries. I thank God for all my family. I see half a Noonan is on this side. I thank God for my Kelly Lake family back there. I just thank God for everybody. If you would go with me to the First Samuel, the first chapter, the first verse.
All right now.
Say amen when you have.
Amen.
Amen.
Now there was a certain man of Rathaim Zophim, of Mount Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah. We can go down to the second verse, and it says, and he had two wives. One's name was Hannah, and the other Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children.
All right.
And this man went out of his city yearly to worship and sacrifice unto the Lord of hosts in Shiloh, and his two sons Eli and and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, the priests of the Lord, were there.
Amen.
And when there was a time where Elkanah offered, he gave Peninnah his wife and all her sons and daughters portions. But unto Hannah he gave a worthy portion. And in some translations it even says a double portion. For he loved Hannah. But this is a particular part worth noting. But the Lord shut up her womb.
All right.
And verse 6 says, and her adversary also provoked her sore, for to make her fret, because again, the Lord had shut up her womb. And if I could throw in just a side note, make sure you know who's shutting up what.
All right.
Because sometimes we give the enemy credit where he is not due.
Amen.
It says specifically the Lord shut up her womb.
All right.
Preach it.
So now we see Hannah and Peninnah's relationship. Peninnah and Hannah don't have a friendly relationship. She's her adversary. She's someone who bothers her. And if I could imagine, I would have to say that Peninnah had to get a little jealous. I gave him all those sons. I gave him all those daughters. But he still gives her a double portion. Why can't I get that double portion?
My Lord.
Sometimes don't be so quick to doubt yourself.
Right.
Or to say, I'm not worth it. That's why people always bother me. Sometimes people see what's in you.
Amen.
And it makes them jealous and fearful of what you have.
Amen.
And we go on into verse 7. And it says, and as he did so year by year, when she went up to the house of the Lord, she provoked her. Therefore she wept and did not eat. So we see here she was so stressful that she didn't even eat. She was just pushing away her plate. She's crying day and night. And I know I'm not the only one who's been to that point where we stress so much where our stomach and everything is just bothering us so when we push away that plate.
Yeah.
We don't look like ourselves anymore. We're not carrying ourselves the way we used to. And we go down and we even see in verse 8 when Elkanah, her husband, asked, why weepest thou? And why eatest thou not? And why is thy heart grieved? Am I not better to thee than 10 sons?
My Lord.
And some people in our life, they try and make up for certain things, but there's just some things that we want from the Lord.
Right.
There's certain things that we want that another individual cannot give.
That's true.
And we go down to verse 10. And she was in the bitterness of her soul and prayed unto the Lord and wept sore. And this part kind of touches my heart because I think about Matthew chapter 5, verse 4, that says, in Matthew chapter 5, it says, blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted.
Amen.
When you're mourning and when you're in the weakest point of your life, don't go to everybody telling
true.
everybody.
Amen.
Because we all say the same thing that we say when we tell them, don't tell this person. Don't tell nobody. Don't tell you. But how many know that one person that we tell isn't always the person that's our confidant?
That's right.
Amen.
They have another person that they tell.
That's true.
And before you know it, you come into church and everybody's staring at you a little different than they did last week.
Amen.
And this key point in verse 11, and she vowed a vow. And if I could stop here, this is actually the title of my sermon. A contract with God.
All right.
Because we know that the definition of an actual contract is a written or spoken agreement between two or more parties. And I found something particular. When it comes to a contract, there is something called the terms and conditions.
Right.
In those terms and conditions, in order for you to enjoy that service, you have to meet prior requirements. If you break that, you make it void.
Amen.
And that's a point worth noting.
Amen.
And if we go down to verse 11, further down at the bottom of verse 11, if you give me my firstborn child, my firstborn man-child, then I will give him unto you all the days of his life. And then many times I've been someone to do it myself, because this sermon is for me as well.
Right.
We ask God, well, Lord, why haven't you given me what I've asked you for? I've been asking you for this, I've been asking you for that. But Penina found the key.
Oh my.
Instead of always asking God, why haven't you done this? Look at yourself and ask, what have I done?
Right. Amen.
What have I given unto the Lord?
Yes.
And in verse 12, it says, and it came to pass, she continued praying. And 1 Thessalonians says 5 and 17, it says we are to pray without ceasing.
Right.
And I love Hannah because she's all over the Bible. She's in very much so the beginning, but she's all over the Bible. And it says, now Hannah, she spake in her heart, only her lips moved, but no voice was heard. Therefore Eli thought she was drunken.
My Lord.
And there comes a point where we have to forget where we are. We have to lose where we are.
All right.
And get to God.
Amen.
If I'm drowning and somebody push me out, I'm not going to try and be cute. I'm going to call out to someone who can help me. There has to be a change. There has to be someone who can help me.
Right.
And I don't care how I look.
That's
as
right.
long as I'm saved.
Amen.
And in verse 14, and Eli said unto her, how long wilt thou be drunken? Put away that wine from thee.
My Lord.
And Hannah answered and said, no, my Lord. I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have drunken neither wine nor strong drink, but I have poured out my soul to the Lord. And I thought about, I got a little excited here, y'all, because I thought about 12 certain men who went up to the upper room and asked.
Oh my God.
And when they came out, people thought they were drunk as well.
Yes. Yes.
But they said, we are not drunk as you suppose. But this is that prophesied by the prophet Joel.
All right now.
Say your lesson, Doc. Say your lesson.
Go ahead.
And she said she poured out her spirit to the Lord. And Eli was touched, so he said that the Lord has heard your request. And he said, go in peace. And somebody look at your neighbor and say, go in peace.
Go in peace.
When the Lord gives you your word, you have to go in peace. Because when you sit there moping and complaining still after He's giving you your word, you're telling God, I hear you,
Yes.
but I don't believe you.
My Lord.
I see you, but I don't quite trust you. But it says, go in peace.
Go in peace.
And in verse 18, it says on the second half, it says, so the woman went her way and did eat, and her countenance was no more sad.
Right.
And it says that the Lord remembered her at the end of verse 19. I wish you could look up to heaven and say, Lord, remember me.
Lord, remember me.
Because I know there's some things that we've all been praying about. And it seems like they're not being heard.
Right.
But sometimes you just have to say, Lord, remember me.
Amen.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
And in my close, I go to chapter 2. Because I know what's said with the Psalms of David, but I think that Hannah had the first psalm. And it says, and Hannah prayed and said, my heart rejoiceth in the Lord.
Yes.
My horn is exalted, and my mouth is enlarged over mine enemies. And I had to look into this. I said, why is her mouth enlarged? And I think that was a smile. That's a smile over someone that used to make her cry. Is there anybody here today that's ready to smile over a situation that once made her cry? Is there anybody here that's had a situation and they said, I cry about it now, but you want to look back on it and laugh. You want to look back on it and smile and say, Lord, I got the victory.
Make it round,
And it says at the end, I rejoice in thy salvation. There is none as holy as there is none beside thee. Neither is there any rock like our God.
My Lord, that's true.
I thought about that and I said, Lord, I thank you that you're not a God of water.
Amen.
You're not a God like water. Because if I can stand on some ice if it gets cold.
Oh, my God.
It might be a little slippery, but I can stand on it.
My God.
But once it gets a little warm,
Oh, God.
I start sinking.
Oh, my.
I'm still all right because I'm above the water as long as I'm swimming.
Yes, sir.
But once it gets a little too hot, you start seeing steam come up around you.
Right.
And you start going lower and lower.
Yeah.
When that situation gets too hot, that water in your life begins to evaporate. That money that you thought protected you begins to evaporate. Those friends that you trusted in begin to evaporate.
Right.
Everything that you trusted other than God begins to evaporate. But I'm reminded of the song, my hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. Oh Christ, the solid rock I stand.
Amen.
All of it. And it says in verse 6, the Lord killeth and the Lord maketh alive.
Yes.
And I know you might say, well, I understand why I want something alive in my life.
Oh, my
But
God.
what do I want to kill? I got some things in my life I want dead, y'all. There's some things in my family members and loved ones' life I want dead. High blood pressure, I want it dead. Low blood pressure, I want it dead. Type 1, I want it dead.
Hallelujah.
Stage 1 cancer, I want it dead. Stage 2 and 3, I want it dead. There's nothing that my God can't do. And I thought about this contract. There's some people who might want a contract like this. And you might say, well, I don't have something. Make it plain, sir. I don't have something that I can just give away in a material sense to God. Well, I know a certain man who signed his name on a contract. And he's just waiting for your signature. You don't need any paper. Because he'll sign it on your heart. You don't need no one. Because he'll sign it in his blood. Talking about King Jesus. He'll take away any sorrow. He'll take away any hurt that you have. There's nothing that my God can't do. He's the most high God. He's the Elohim. The El Shaddai. Emmanuel. He's God with me. King of kings. Lord of lords. The most high God. The Alpha and Omega. The beginning and the end. All I need is my God. I can go to him when you leave me. I can go to him when my phone
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
It says, for by strength shall no man prevail.
Come on up, dog.
By strength,
Yes, sir.
you can't make it.
Yes.
By your finances, you can't make it.
Amen.
You have to depend on God.
Yes.
Sign that contract with him on
Oh,
today.
my God. What a word, preacher. What a word.